episode.
It's all right. They can wait. The community. My rivals.
Which one? Hey, everybody. Sorry about that. We had a lot of technical difficulties. Don't go with Verizon for internet, apparently. And Kendall thinks he's a robot. So, let's see. Hopefully, it's working. We'll see. But
Kendall's glitching.
Kendall always glitches. So
This is the first time I've seen Kendall glitch when he's not playing Star Wars cards.
So joining me tonight, Kendall Hallman and Justin Desai. We're going to talk a little bit about the OCS, tweak set, all the stuff that's coming out.
The OCS is still on?
No, but it's over.
It ended?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's news? Okay.
Maybe for you.
That's why I'm here.
But
so actually this is relevant, and now I'm bringing up sports. For me, the OCS is like it's like when the USA is in the World Cup and then they lose and then like you just stop paying attention.
Yep.
As soon as like there's a handful of people that I pay attention to, it's a very small number. As soon as they've been eliminated.
So are you trying to tell me that I'm not someone that you pay attention to?
I didn't even know you won Worlds.
you were
I
there.
I know. I found out. I think I found out at like at dinner, like later that night.
I posted this after I won, and I did think that winning was somewhat anticlimactic, and I think, and Kendall, you might be a good person to ask this. Am I and Bastion and Joe and MHT, are we essentially the same entity if we win in terms of the reaction that it causes? Like, Desai wins Worlds, Joe wins Worlds.
No, it's just, I think
those guys always win. Like, it's sure, I had fun, and you keep it moving.
Well, okay, what I would say is that when at Nationals and at Worlds, when they announced the top 8 and there were no surprises, I was kind of just then checked out. Now also I also, unlike a lot of people, the consolation event actually matters to me. So when I'm at an event and I don't make day 2, I'm worried about what I'm playing in the consolation event.
That makes sense.
And then when I'm playing the consolation event, I'm also not paying attention to the top 8 because I'm playing in the event.
If a specific grouping of person wins and it's that top grouping, which I am in. I'm not gonna play the humble card here. Like Bastion, me, Joe, like MH2. That sort of top person that's sort of surprising when they don't do well, like surprising when they don't top 8. When they win, is it actually, if you're not like a rival of that, right? Like, so if Joe wins, I'm like, damn it, Joe won. Or if, I win, like my rivals are probably like, damn, they won, Justin won or whatever. But if you're sort of like someone who's a participant in the community and you love playing and you're competitive, but you're like, okay, there is this tier above me of players. If they win, and Worlds has been won by someone in that tier for the last 5, right? Because it's me,
right.
Joe,
right. Yes, the people that you've mentioned, they're the multiple. Worlds has been won by someone who has won Worlds multiple times
the last 5 years.
Since
So who was before that? Was it Hade or Phil? Is that the last?
It was one of those two. It was one of those two because those were back to back the years before. I don't remember.
So they're a little below. But is it the exact same sort of psychological reaction where it's like, oh, Joe won, oh, Justin won, oh, Bastion won? Like,
so I don't know. I don't know that it's that, but I think you are like the perfect storm of people, because if Joe had won, for me, this is for me, if Joe had won, then that's 3 years in a row, which is huge. Also, Joe is somebody that I send decks to for him to tell me why they're bad.
Oh, okay.
And he does. So I have, and he's somebody that I interact with on Slack like every day.
Never gotten a Slack message?
Yeah.
Shit.
I have my team, and then I have this a handful of arbitrary people that I send
get
next
those
to.
messages from people though, like, hey, can you take a look at my legend list? Hey,
and I'm sure that there are, but that's again, this is me. I'm sure there are people who you are Joe for them. Bastion is somebody that I've never met in person.
I ignore Dan's. When Dan's done that, I'm just like, delete. Well, it's true. Sorry, Dan.
There's actually only one person that I've reached out in the community when I was like nobody, and they didn't come back with advice about a deck, and I'm not going to say who it was because it's somebody that is actually really nice and has since I've worked with really closely, but it was just like I was a nobody. So you can send. So if you're watching and you suck at the game, send Desai all your decks, and he will give you all kinds of good advice, I'm sure. Or if you want somebody nicer than Desai, then send it to somebody nicer.
I have COVID. I have a day off if anybody wants to.
Yeah. And I mean MHT is somebody that I'm just like always rooting for. He also hasn't actually won Worlds, right? MHT hasn't actually won Worlds, so that would have been like
everyone would have had their own storyline. Like the expected people would have had their storyline, and mine was just like, oh, Desai's been crushing and he's kind of back. But like Joe would have been 3 in a row. Hayes and MHT would have been like they haven't won and they've been really good. Like finally wins Worlds, well deserved first Worlds win or whatever. And Mia was kind of, I guess, but Mia was like the second 3 time. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just interesting because it is somewhat like climactic. Like there's that first wave of like congratulations and TR. And then you're sort of like, you get on Holotheatre was cool, but then it's like, all right, now what? Like, no one wants to keep talking about this event that I won. Clearly, no one wants.
Being on Holotheatre is not a big deal. I just want everyone to know that.
Well, winning is like winning. You're like, there's nothing to really think about because if you lose, you're like, oh man, I wish I had done that. Oh, I can't believe I made that play, or oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. But if you win, you're kind of like, okay, like this isn't.
Next?
Then you actually think about how much.
And especially because it's such high level play, and because when you win, you had to win a lot. So it's not like the movies where where you're like doing okay at first, and then you have like a setback, and then like you think you're gonna lose it all, and at the last minute, like no, it's like I won however many games, 16 games of Star Wars cards in a row.
Are you saying there are movies for Star Wars cards, Kendall?
No, but I'm saying there's movies for. Do you know how many episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh I watched in preparation for Worlds?
There are like match play does, and like the two sides does give the comeback story though. Like you lost the first game by like 20.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a thing. Like,
but I guess if you won, and especially if you're like going into the top 8 as a favorite, the likelihood of you having those matches that are nail biters is probably a little bit less. For every Matt Sokol in the Worlds 2000 forgot to put nobody forgot to put a Luke in their deck this time.
You can have margins though. I remember the first Worlds I won, I had 4 timed or like 3 games that had like went to differential, and I play fast, but it was like it went to like lost pile count.
Yeah.
Well,
and your story about beating Kevin Shannon, I posted it twice in 2 different podcasts, so it must have been impressive. So there's good stories.
I told that story when Brandon interviewed me. Yeah, and it's in the like the trailer. It's like me sort of talking very emotionally about it. If you hear my voice in the background, like I played so well, it's like this really breathy voice. It's a little awkward. It's like one of the reasons I like don't like watching that. So I'm like, oh, my breathy voice talking about how good I'm playing is like the backdrop of one of the parts of it.
That should be the first thing he starts out with.
He played so good. His new video is quite sweet though, like the little montage, the KTV.
Yes, I was really impressed with it. It's like it's good. Yeah, now just finish it. He wants to make it 3 hours long. It's like make it 45 minutes long.
No, just make it 45 minutes. Yeah. You've already got a lot of the big pieces. And I'm sure like he's got a whole bunch of the storyline with like
Yeah,
actual like
and you can
corporate
make a
people.
sequel with your other with your other 99 hours of footage, but
Yeah.
like put together something that is
Loader
that's-
TCG. Where's the sequel?
That's my opinion.
Make
But
it into a TV show, like a series.
All the Decipher games.
Oh God.
He's like coming soon.
well, he
Mike
is. That's what he's doing. Is he's going to do it's a 3-episode. It's a 3-episode miniseries. Is what
3
it
hours
is.
long.
But each episodes
like
are
3 hours long.
each one is an hour long. It's going to be 3 hours. Is what his current vision is. I just
it actually gets to Netflix.
yeah.
Hey,
Well,
I mean,
whatever.
there's some weird stuff on
That's
Netflix.
regardless. I mean, it can be on YouTube, and you can still,
Right.
and that's it's great. It looks super professional and everything. I just think you finish a chunk of the project, and you put it out there. That's
Well, he works for the government.
that's me speaking freely. I think I got pretty drunk around him at Worlds,
did.
so I'm sure he knows that I think this, but
First
I do
night-
think that what he's doing is really cool.
First night, Steve and I walked down to wherever you were drinking.
Yeah.
And we walked in, heard you yell, and we like basically picked up like some virtual cards and just walked out. Steve's like, "Yeah, let's go to like a very expensive restaurant and fuck this." And I was like, "Yeah." That was the weekend.
Oh gosh, good story. So let's get into some match play stories. Let's talk about the OCS really quick. You ended up winning it. You had like what was it, like X and 3 that you went for the OCS?
I lost 5 games, so I went 67-5 in the monthlies.
Scrub.
Oh, I know, 5 losses, all with
Yeah.
Dark Side. And then it's
That's
a little hard to remember. I didn't really prep for it because it was like all of those games were basically all were pre-Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like we did the little countdown thing not countdown, the draft at Worlds.
Yeah, which was really fun.
And then it's like, okay, I won Worlds, and it's like, okay, I guess I'll play the OC. And I retired. We're not supposed to mention that. We're not supposed to mention that. And then it's sort of like, okay, let's schedule these matches, and you have to like submit your deck lists. So I think I don't want to be rude. Who was the first guy I played? I'm sorry.
Eric Spixma.
Eric Spixma. And I remember looking up a few, like I control F'd him on deck lists, and he had played Hoth Walkers or something. I sort of got a read of that, or maybe I didn't. I think he did play Hoth Walkers at some event.
He was practicing. I think he played it at Worlds because he was practicing it a lot.
He did play. I know that he has been known to play Hoth Walkers because he played against Carl, and Carl put him on Hoth Walkers.
Right.
As
Yeah.
one
So
of
I
the possible
put him on
decks, so he
that,
must be known
and
for it.
then I didn't really know
Played Walkers at Euros.
There you go.
Euros. So I did sort of think that was what he was going to do, and originally I felt Legend was fine against it, but then I figured that OA would just be like really smooth, and that if I played OA, that would not put people on me like Legend. Like people might think that I was changing up decks for each round. And then I played. Did I play Rops? I think I played Rops and he played Y40. I want to say that's what he played. I guess we should bring up the lists.
We should.
Yes, he did. He played Y40, and I won the first game, but it wasn't that much because he had like a whole bunch of like artilleries and stuff, like a lot of ping, like 1 damage pings and stuff like that.
Yeah, you ended up
so
winning game 1 by 17. Got the
Yeah.
list of your games up right now, so people can
And
actually
then-
check those out.
But here's the cards I added to Rops the morning of like deck lists. I added Conquest and like Ceasefire, and played against Y40. Like those are the cards I added. Ceasefire and the 5th ship in Conquest. So like he loads Y40 and I'm like, oh, like cool. I've added 2. Like if you could pick 2 cards to add to Rops, they would probably be those 2 cards if you're playing against Y40 outside of like maybe Search and Destroy or something like that. So I like basically played that match, and I had both the capital ships in hand, that game. So like he never really could win that matchup. So that was like a fortunate game. His Y40 can win by a lot, so I was fortunate to add those cards in. And I think he conceded. I think I just like won all the battles in space. Like it wasn't like I did that much damage, but I was the one chasing him around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he ended up conceding game 2 to you.
And did, and then my second round was like that, that sort of oddity with Paul and Greg where that whole thing
Mm-hmm.
happened. And I'm on tournament committee, so it was like weird because like Paul won, and then it's like, he's like, "Hey, when are we playing?" And I'm like seeing the stuff on tournament committee, and that was kind of um crappy all ways around for sure.
Yeah.
But in a glitch like that, and I don't think Paul did anything out of animosity, but I also understand or out of not animosity. What's the word? Uh,
Malicious.
Malicious intent. I do honestly think it was a mistake, but I
Mm-hmm.
do get the concept of the rules and stuff like that. So I'm sort of in the middle there. But I played.
Remind me. I remember there was controversy. Remind me what happened exactly.
He beat Greg, but he didn't post his deck lists
Oh,
prior to
that's what it was.
that.
Yeah, he didn't
And
send his
then
deck list. Yeah.
they had to like figure out some form of
Yeah. Yeah.
penalty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then but Greg ended up advancing.
Yes.
Um, and then I played Greg, and I
He,
figured that he would Legend, which he did, and I liked Hunt Down against Legend. I just totally like gambled on that one, but I really liked Hunt Down against Legend, and then I forget what he played for
he
Dark.
played Map against your Yoda commuting.
He played Map against Yoda Commuting, so I led with Hunt Down, and I won by a lot. Um, oh yeah, that game was sweet. I had like all the sevens always on top of my deck. I knew where they were with like Force Lightning in hand, and both Palpatine and Dooku at different sites. So he like play a guy, and I would just like Force Lightning it, and then like the seven would be like for future tracking. So that was cool. Um, and then yeah, he like the second game was weird. He like I won by a lot, but I was like in a nerve-wracking position at one point
Mm-hmm.
because he had like an Ellis and like 30 force. But then the actual fight happened and he like missed all his swings. I do remember that. So I gave Greg his third and fourth losses of the OCS because he lost the first two to. If you look at the OCS, it shows Greg as 4 victory points or four points in the one for each loss he got. And then who else was it? Oh, then it was
Gavin.
Gavin. Gavin had the most surprising deck choice of the entire event.
Which
So
one?
Gavin is usually like plays like my father before me farm decks,
Yeah.
or he plays Diplo. Like those are his things. I think he's played a little bit of 0 Hour. So I was like, okay, he's gonna probably play Diplo or that deck, and I figured Diplo. So I played. I like Rops against Diplo, and I also like Rops against the mains. And he flipped over like the farm, almost the very like his take on the farm Yoda communing that like Hayes and Joe played, and I was like, this is one of the weirdest choices because I had professed that I really liked playing against that,
Yeah.
and that it was just odd. That shocked me, and I did win that one. And then
I think the misplay was him playing Owen and Baru Alar to the farm.
yeah, it was just like another beatdown. Like the Rops once again beating down a character in that deck. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
happened 1,000 times in the last like 3 weeks for me, where I was just like playing random Imperials. It was like sealed deck. Like they don't have a Gick, and you have random cards, and they play a card, and you're like, okay, I have 4 guys, and you have 1 guy, and I'll like make you lose 8 cards. Like that was the Rops versus Yoda communing, um, like line of play for all of those games. I forget what the other match was. Oh, he like said he was like going to play soccer, and then we played like 3 turns, and it was very clear he wasn't going to win. He's like, "Yeah, I can still make my soccer game. I'll concede." I forget where he played though.
He played Rops versus Your Legend.
Oh yeah, I won the first game by a lot, and then I had set up like um Ray and like a BB-8 and like a Leia, and he came down and I flipped. He came down with like EPP Vader and
Yeah.
something, and I flipped and like basically, he restraining bolted BB-8 and then fought the same turn, and my end result was losing the BB-8 that had the restraining bolt with 2 BB-8s in my deck. So it was like he was just no chance he was gonna win that by enough, so he just conceded that. And then we got the feature match.
Yeah. You versus
Against
Bastion.
Bastion. That was kind of cool. Um, and originally I was gonna play. I figured he was gonna play Bring Him or Shadow. I figured he wouldn't rock, and I figured Bring Him or Shadow. So I liked Hitco against both those, just as sort of like a, um, and I think I did consider him Ropsing too. So I liked Hitco. I liked Hitco against all 3 of those, and I liked it as the surprise factor.
Yeah, not a lot of people were expecting you to see Hitco.
And I had like no, like I just brewed that Hitco. Like it was just me clicking on a thing. I like randomly like cut all the pullers. I cut the Death Star site. I cut all the like cut Yoda's hut. I was like, I'll just play docking bays. It's fine. And then I was like, I like Tidarium. Let's play Tidarium if he plays Rops, because like Tidarium will like, because like the way that like Rops beats mains is it like goes light to space and it spreads out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have like, and they'll win like the long slugfest against like a Tidarium, but if they have to put like 4 or 5 cards in space, then you'll beat them on the ground.
Yeah.
So I had like 2 Heras and Solo and Tidarium and 2 Fly Casuals, so I thought that was kind of neat. And then I liked it against Brigham because I get to play the Luke, and you get
Yeah.
Luke from deck.
And
And
then
he ended up playing Brigham. That was like a pretty wild game. That was a pretty wild game to win by so much. I do think the key of that match was that I was the higher seed and I got to play that matchup first.
yeah, I think a lot of people. I think Garrett and myself were commentating that game, and we both said the same thing because on the opposite side, it was Bastion 0 hour against Rops.
Yeah, and I like that matchup as Rops. I know a lot of people think 0 hour is going to win. I mean, MHT and I kind of figured that matchup out prior to Worlds. Like when it was 0 hour was still in its like pre-errata phase. And we had like a really good line of like not really worrying about flipping, going Piet into Sane, and then it just sort of like playing the game like as Star Wars, like not really using your objective. And then Decree non-V helps a ton too.
Yeah.
Like you could use your objective, but it was really all about just like having battle plan and just like sneaking in damage and like being able to put things in front of them to like make their drains at the most 3 and not 5. Because if you ever took 5, it was like really bad. But if you took like 3, it wasn't that bad. And then like getting you have like a lot of really good characters against them. Like you have like Ninth Sister, and you have the like they all have Padawan, so like the brother is like a 7 power guy who just like fight them. So just like winning fights. You have 2 guys that can chase them, like Thrawn and the Grand Inquisitor can actually chase them, which is like tech that never gets used, but gets used a lot in that matchup. And then the second Emperor shuttle was really helpful too. So like I liked that matchup as Rops quite a bit. And again, I know that like everyone thinks that's not a good matchup for Rops, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be bad. I don't think it would have been like crazy to win it if I had flipped the sides. I still think I'm ahead. I still think I'm the favorite. But I think the fact that the way that game 1 played out with me winning by like the amount that I won by, if we had had the Rops versus 0 hour first, I think I would have won. I do think I would have won that, but probably not by a ton. And then I think that Brigham actually could have played more conservatively and leaned on like stack everyone at one site and use Force Servitude. Bastion spread out against me. I don't totally know why.
I remember you going down R2D2, the virtual one, to the Death Star's throne room, getting Luke out for 6, and you threw
Yeah,
down...
like at the beat on the Emperor, I knew he was probably gonna force push, but it was like felt worth it. And then he had like Vader, and then he was draining for 2, and I was draining for 1, essentially, with Forced Servitude. And then he played like Maul and other guys to his 1/1 site to retrieve, and I think he probably wins that match by like that game by like 3 if he just plays Maul to Vader site and gets the extra ping there.
Instead of just focusing on the droid retrieval.
Yeah, like the droid I mean, maybe it was just like he knew he would eventually run out of droids, but I felt like if he plays Maul and Vader together, he's like in a much better spot.
Mm-hmm.
So my producer wants me to ask you what decks you think are in good positions after the Fleek set gets released.
Not Shadow. Shadow Collective seems way worse to me. I actually don't think Rob's is gonna be that bad. I don't like if you think about like the only change is really like enforcement, right?
Enforcement got changed. Your lost
Yeah.
interrupts go out of play now, and then your
Yeah, but like the lost interrupts going out of play thing, like does Gick still go out of play? No.
no.
So like the
No,
close
Gick.
call-
No, I thought Gick went out of play and nothing else. Something happens with Gick.
Gick is not out of play, right?
Greek is the only one that does not go out of play. Like close call, if you use the lost version, it goes out of play. That was the big one, and then
But the thing, like, all right, so you can't like abuse a lost interrupt, but like you didn't always do that, and you didn't always have enforcement. Like those were abusive things that would happen in some games, but they didn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that matters enough. Because like Robs can just still win like probably less comfortable games. Like enforcement, you'd win and you'd be like, oh, cool. Like it's like you're like a UFC fighter, and you're like you get down to this really low amount,
Mm-hmm.
and then you like win the game, and then you have enforcement. You get all your emperors back,
Yeah.
and you're just like, and then your deck's like retrieve a 6, draw a 6, retrieve a 6. You know that whole thing happens. But like you might, and you end up winning that game. That like you were down to like 9 force, and you end up winning by like 15. But that game might still get won, but you might just win by like 4 instead of like getting to that point where you actually get to sort of like just kind of go off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Rob's could be decent. Bringham's dead, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Bringham's I think pretty.
Bringham's dead. Maybe Shadow's not dead.
I think I think I think that the Maul change mostly impacts like the non-Shadow Collective Maul decks. Like it just incrementally brings Shadow Collective down a little bit.
Might hurt Shadow though is like the Sith Fury change. That deck really relied on Sith Fury a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sith Fury. I think Sith. I understand why it's there, but it I think it throws a lot. It changes the math on a lot of decks, definitely.
Legend's like completely dead. Legend seems bad, like, which is fine. I mean, it had a little peak. OA seems good still.
Yeah, I mean, OA losing the Rose and then the BB-8 pings kind of hurts it a little bit.
Is there anything that was like a tier 2 or tier 3 that you think will kind of rise to the top now that some of the really powerful interactions have been dialed back?
I think like the Anakin, like the Skywalker family decks look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean not having Anakin Skywalker get stolen or Anakin's lightsaber get stolen.
That is huge for both Luke and Anakin, not just the getting Anakin's saber back. Like the Luke saber, like you just played 2 sabers. Like if that ever got stolen, you were screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like that deck's probably gonna be really good. They both all the communings look weird now. I don't think they're that good. I think I'd look for like the things like the actual things that got hit with errata.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them got like structurally changed to be worse, like Legend. Like their actual like text and their objective got worse. But some of them lost pieces. But you got to think about those decks won without those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like OA didn't win all of its games with Rose and BB-8. Sometimes you just never drew those cards. I mean, I guess Rose
right.
always have her, but like you don't need like OA won a lot of games because it's doing OA things. And I guess they changed the OA text with like once per turn with battle damage, but like
Yes.
how many games did you actually reduce 2 battles? Like I mean it happens a fair amount, but like how many turns do you really have a lot of battles? You know what I mean? Like
True.
there's not that much happens. So, like I think OA and ROPS like they lost things that they can do, which are powerful things, but their engines are still online. So I think those decks will probably still be fine, and Shadow I guess might still be decent too.
Mhm.
Whereas like Yoda's doing completely different stuff. Like it can no longer
It
reduce
no
these
longer has the fully immune guys. Yeah.
like yeah, and it has no longer has like the fully immune guys. Like that's bad. Like
So, but
yeah,
here's the thing though. Like, although they're not fully immune, but it like is immune less than 6 because they're the fully immune guys are essentially immune less than 6. Like, is that still pretty good?
I don't know
Like,
if it really
is Luke the Last Jedi still good if he's immune less than 6?
But I think that's one of the reasons that like commuting was ahead.
Yeah.
Because like think about it, like one of the reasons why like Jedi Luke wasn't that good was it's like oh he's only immune less than 7. Like Rops will just kill him
Right.
or somebody else will just kill him.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
No, I mean, I don't disagree, but
drawing
yeah.
something in Shadow Collective will kill that. But if you're like a fully immune guy, you like there's so many games with Yoda commuting where you lose like 5 force and keep your guy out. Where now you're just gonna be bleeding cards.
Yeah.
So I think like more stuff will be dying, which is kind of interesting because like there's less like protection across the board. Oh, they did hit the legend protection thing.
Yeah, I was really thinking with Yoda commuting, and I haven't actually like looked at what cards exist, but I wonder if there are good cards that are immune to exactly attrition less than 4 that would fit if there's like a mid range Yoda muting deck.
Yeah.
Master Luke is like the one card that's like a lot of decks are scared of. Like when I was playing Rops at Worlds, it was like there were multiple times where I was like, "Ooh, Master Luke would really screw me right now."
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't happen, and you're like, okay.
That's an area where you and I agree. I really don't like Master Luke.
So you're both saying that Master Luke needs an errata?
Like I verified MHT's deck in the finals, and it was like Master Luke, Cassian, and like both Rays, and I was like, thank God. Like these are the cards that I don't want to see out. And the same thing happened against Bastion when he played his 0 hour. It was like Master Luke, I don't want to see Master Luke.
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying, Cassian's going to be good. Anything that cancels Destiny might be good just because of Maul losing that global ability to cancel like you can't cancel their destinies.
That Dark Time's pretty good though.
Yeah.
That 5 destiny.
Yeah. I mean,
that one's strong.
I think there's going to be some good cards. I mean, I think there's going to be some good that comes from this tweak set, but
it seems like it's a little bit fairer. Like there's going to be power levels are still high, but it's less like. There seems like they're getting rid of a little bit of like the redundant, like get to your pivot point and like always win from there stuff. Like Rops with enforcement and 6s is like too much. And
yeah,
like,
I think that there's some stuff that like even if this wasn't a tweak set, like even if they weren't doing a tweak set, some of the BB9 shenanigans and the evolutions of the Tom deck type stuff and macro scan and everything would have gotten an errata even in a vacuum, I think. But I think that I agree that a lot of the tweaks are more incremental. So like even, I mean, Bring Him Before Me is not going to be competitive, but I'm still going to keep my physical Bring Him Before Me deck together because it's built. And I play casually every week, and so I can swap out the Emperor.
The Emperor, and it lost the droid stuff, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't playing the droid stuff in mine anyway because I'm a bad Star Wars card player. But
you could play. I mean, it's not dead. You could play with the old Emperor and like Dooku's and Force Lightnings and stuff.
Or you can go with. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Emperor Palpatine, the Foreseer's an okay card. I mean, I don't like the fact that you lose a card each turn you want to use them. But like you were saying,
just play the 6 Destiny Emperor and then just use Dooku, who costs 5 now, with the Emperor, and just you play like 2 or 3 Dookus, and then you have your Force Lightning engine, and it's relatively the same. Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's like tier 1, but like you could do that.
Yeah,
Drawing the
wish
bottom
that-
card is sweet, though.
it does seem like we could use a bring him before me specific emperor if they're taking away the one that was good.
That would be cool.
Like it's design space, I guess.
I think there's a little bit of like obvious stuff that is going to be powerful and new. Like I think like the family stuff and for light, and then for dark. For dark, I don't know if there's actually anything obviously good.
Yeah.
What about Carl brought up CCT.
Yeah, I guess CCT is better because
because CCT did not get hit, and
like,
it was already
like,
good.
Because like Rose and Legend and OA are really good against it. Those are all those things
Mhm.
took hits. That's interesting.
I think that I personally like the new Zuckuss. It feels like the little tiny bone that they're throwing to me as a court player.
Yeah,
But
CCT, I could see that. I could see that. Although Hitco can play a farm now, can play a better farm.
Yeah, Hiko can still can play the farm. They did change that. on the
CCT doesn't
objective.
want to see Hitco, period.
But I mean, all you do is you just wait for them to throw out the farm, and then you put your prison down in between.
You could do that. But it's tough in general. Like
It
my
is.
father before me is hard against Hitco because of the anti-disarm tech. So like the my father before me run 2 Hear Me Babies is going to be hard for the scum decks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lean on disarmed. Dark could be kind of screwed, to be honest. What's going to be good for Dark? Ooh. Dark lost like.
I mean, I feel like Rops is still good.
Like Rops is probably still good, but it's not as good because their enforcement was a piece. And then like what are the other decks? It lost all the forced servitude decks. Regular Shadows harder. It lost Brigham. It lost Sith's Fury. It's like decks like ISB aren't like consistent. Dark Side.
I mean, you have Agents of Black Sun. I mean, yeah, I know Master Luke is a thing, but at the same time, the hits to Master Luke, because you're not going to see as much of him, is a good thing.
Agents, though, it's like... Yeah, I suppose Agents is an interesting call. It could go back to that time frame. Like, the Thrawn deck got helped. What was the changes to the Thrawn deck? It gets, like, Piet now?
You can play any non-Shiranu Admiral.
And it can pull systems on its 7, right?
Carl brought up Revenge Dooku. I think like the kind of the honest dark side mains decks, just there's a certain power level there that maybe just the overall dialing back of some of the
light
stuff that
but
Light
like
has.
Light still gets to play like OA against so many of these decks.
But OA doesn't have Rose and BB-8 anymore.
Yeah, but like just
I don't know if it matters that much. I don't know if Rose and BB-8 are actually that good, to be honest. What does Rose do now?
She's like anti-starship weapons or something.
It's the same thing with Finn. During battle, if your starship or other resistance character is about to be hit, Rose is going to be hit. And Rose is not hit, she becomes hit, and forfeit equals 0. So she'll protect, like, say.
So she's weapons protection.
Yeah.
That's like she's like a Talls.
So she's basically what she was before, except for she doesn't retrieve force because she was the one that would get targeted by weapons
change
anyway.
her lore to her quote.
Mm-hmm.
That quote where she's like, instead of hating what we love, let's love what we hate, or whatever.
Some lawyer needs to figure out how to give us lore on cards. Like you can't add new lore, so yeah, do a quote. That's that's a good idea.
Lando, Radis, Ray, turn 1 still a thing, right?
Yes.
That's like all there. You can pull Ray or no from deck. Did they change that?
You can still pull
You
Ray.
can still pull Ray.
Yeah, I mean, OA is going to be like clearly the best deck. And then a Luke deck. like the light things are still doing their powerful things
But
really powerfully.
how does OA beat ROPS?
I mean, it can, especially if you don't have to like worry about Shadow as much anymore, and you get to play like all, and you can cancel destinies, right? No, you can't. You still can't against Maul.
You can cancel.
They don't have a blaster.
Uh, yeah, with Maul, the way he's worded now is if you. Let me pull him up actually.
You guys are getting prime
Uh,
info.
Once per
Retired
turn, may add or subtract one from a just drawn battle, or once per turn may add or subtract one from a just drawn blaster weapon destiny or battle destiny. That destiny draw cannot be canceled. Immune to attrition less than 5.
Yeah. So like cards like Cassian and Wedge are gonna be really good against ROPS, and you don't get to like you don't have to like they don't become completely useless against Maul.
True.
So always taking a step in the right direction in both those matchups.
But I guess the thing is OA. It's
And
I mean, meta. I guess its position in the meta is changing, but it's not getting anything
no, it's not getting
that
better.
actually makes it stronger. So I think that I don't know.
Boogeyman. It's just the boogeyman that always
Yeah.
background. And if everything is like, oh, I'll do this, and I'm gonna make this deck list, and I'm gonna play this deck, and oh, this deck's not here, I'm gonna like brew something. Always like, okay, cool. Here's my Falcon that I start. Here's my Ray that I always have. Here's my 2 generals that I get. Here's my Radis that pulls another ship that I have.
Right. Yeah, it's a baseline, but I guess the thing is, OA's been at a power level here, and there's some other decks that have been here. Now those decks are here.
Yeah,
So decks that were already like about here, and maybe they weren't playable. Maybe they rise to the occasion. Maybe some of them rise to the occasion.
All the decks. Like, the thing with OA, and here's what I've said against OA. OA is the best deck, has been for the last year. It's the absolute hands down best deck against everything that's not the best deck. So if you actually look at OA, bad matchup against Shadow Collective, bad matchup against ROPS. Not always the best matchup against Brigham. That matchup sort of had a couple different ways that it could go, but those are the top 3 dark decks I think pretty clearly, and it was bad matchup, scary matchup, and it was still this boogeyman because against everything else, like literally everything else, it has like plus value. So now you're taking ROPS, you're dropping that. You're taking Shadow, you're dropping that. You're taking Brigham, you're getting rid of that completely. And you're hurting OA because of Rose and BB. But, like, I don't know, man. I think that, maybe, like, Map comes back a little bit.
That's true. Map is another one that doesn't, nothing hurt Map. And Map was already, I think, pretty good. It's just people opted against it.
Map is probably on the rise. Thrawn, have to look at Thrawn. What's the chat saying? I don't have it up.
The chess really hasn't really said much about anything else.
They all fell asleep.
Yeah. So
I do think that like oftentimes what happens is like you like No Idea is another example of a deck that like gets hit a little bit, like the Admiral's Order gets hit, but like it didn't always draw the Admiral's Order. Like those were like things that it did, but like it's still doing its thing with spies and Stardust and ships, and it's. I just wonder like the decks that we hit when we hit like a powerful component, but if you're actually playing the deck, you're like, wait.
Oh, that's another thing. OA cannot play combined fleet action.
Which but that's what you're saying. You weren't always OA wasn't always playing that anyway.
Combined fleet action was like the anti-Brigham. Heck, like it wasn't.
Yeah. And then we did have the question about walkers.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. It's like walkers will be good, but what do you think the best deck against walkers is? Like OA. I think that's where.
That's the issue.
Because like even Scum, like neither of the Scum decks are good against OA anymore. It used to be like Scum was great against OA, but now it's not so much. Like CCT, not at all. Court's probably decent.
Court's a solid matchup. Yeah. Yeah. You got to decide whether you're gonna pull now Hutta against it or not.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Good point.
I do think that the game. I guess it feels a little bit like 2019 meta almost. Minus the dark side deck that's the boogeyman. Because in those metas you had agents and Rops that were clearly the best decks for 19 was Rops and 18 was
Agents.
agents.
Yeah.
And I guess map was good back then too. But the best decks then were Throne Room, which you could almost look at the Skywalker's deck are going to be Throne Room-y type decks. OA and like No Idea was pretty good too. And those three decks might be the top three light decks. And then the dark decks, who knows? Honestly, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what I would play for dark if it was a tournament tomorrow. Or in the Fleek meta.
Well, one way to find out is by watching some of the stuff that's going on with the PC right now. The Champions League is going on right now. Checking up on some of the results. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like... Yeah, there's been a few results for the Champions League. We've had David Center beat Eric Hunter. Eric then beat Steven DeVos. So Eric is 2-1. Carl beat Anthony Howard. And then Kuhn beat Carl. And that's pretty much all that's been reported so far.
Yeah, I think a lot of the pods are waiting for the
Fleek
set to drop.
Yeah.
But yeah, David Center is he's a Michigan guy. He's on the rise. He
played a great Obi-Wan commuting deck against Rops.
Yeah. But he played in the Corellia League and both the last 2 years obviously did well because he's in the Champions League. But he's somebody that I think a lot of people don't know, and he's on the rise. So watch out for him. Lom Hawkeye, I think, is his.
Lom Hawkeye.
Yes.
I wonder what.
Which I found out he's named after the character, not the Marvel character, the other Hawkeye.
MASH.
From MASH, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Another Hawkeye.
That's good.
I wonder what on the rise players are like actually going to continue being on the rise.
That's a good question.
Like Worlds, they did not rise.
No.
But like in the summer, like a lot of those guys were rise, like Treadwell and them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, David Center didn't go to Worlds.
Okay. See you rise.
But I think he's done well where he played.
That's good.
And Carl is another one to keep your eye on, and he's. I know that I'm just a random scrub, but I have noticed major improvements. I noticed improvement in his play between Nationals and Worlds, even if his records didn't totally. I mean, he's still.
There's room for growth for sure.
He was worse than me, and now I think he's better than me. But like I'm nobody, so doesn't mean that he's better than Dan.
Carl was in
Both
the top
you guys
22.
had very close games against me in OCS.
I just need to learn how to get better with my movement.
You guys have both had like wins in hand, if I recall.
Yeah.
Carl,
Yeah.
we played a long time ago, but Dan,
when you and I played, it was a very close game, and I 100% choked because I like realized that there were 40 people watching us and everything.
I think
but that was
like,
a while
I'm gonna
ago,
lose. Should I concede? And then I'm like, wait, if they do this weird thing in the move phase, maybe I can still win. And you guys do it, and then I'm like, oh, they did that. They messed up the move phase. Then I'm like, oh, okay, now let's see if they like panic and try to like come back in this game that they're already gonna win.
See, most of the time I've lost before I've gotten to the move phase. So that's
the first.
Yeah. Usually by the end of the first battle phase of my first turn, I've lost the game.
thoughts on tracking? Is it a separating factor among players tiers? While you guys talk about that, though, the
Yes.
Gem PC is returning. Signups for that are going on right now. Players that have signed up include Matt Lutz, Mike Kessling, Brian Fred, Justin Branch, Greg Shaw,
Up and
Joe,
comers.
Chris Kelly.
I'm not playing.
That's because you're retired.
I'm retired. I'm gonna keep
Brad Kipple and Charlie Arlison, they're all signed up for that. And then the San Diego Super Open is January 20th through the 22nd. Make sure you guys start registration on that. It is
Are you guys
up.
going?
I will not be there. No, but first you hear this. Bren Derlin is going to be my podcast intern, and he will be asking people 3 questions.
No, that's neat.
So figure out who he is, and then have him ask you 3 questions.
That would be an interesting event.
He looks like you.
We'll watch.
So, no, I mean, the biggest name people, Phil's going, Casey, Matt Wadden, Greg Shaw, Connor Britton. I mean, there's some good players that are going.
Joe's going?
He hasn't signed up yet. And
You
then-
going to the Dan? Are you going to New Jersey on the 18th?
No.
No, you're not.
It's a 5.5 hour drive. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a more than 5.5 hour drive for me, and I'm planning. I'm gonna try. I'm not 100%. Nobody has offered me a place to stay, but
Well, if you go, drive out to Pittsburgh, and we'll both go.
okay, yeah, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Worlds is like weirdly close.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Like
Yeah.
it's not like next year. It's like, oh, it's like
August.
this summer. It's like this summer.
Yeah.
Strange.
Online Play Week is February 17th through the 26th. The OCS is going to be February to October, and then Worlds, like we were just talking, August 10th through the 13th.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of August. It's just
It's yeah, and it's in Morristown, New Jersey, so relatively close. I mean, I'm happy it's in New Jersey. It's drivable.
3 hours for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come out of retirement. We shall see.
Back to back.
No, 4. 4 is an interesting number, that's for sure.
And then the donation program is live. It's the only way to get these 6
Cool box.
the Series 2 boxes.
It's not the only way,
So
but we
far.
should still.
That's the only way that we know of right now.
It's the only guaranteed way.
I thought you get them for events. No, is that not?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
at
You
least
get-
not. At least not guaranteed. Like not for sure. Like it's not gonna be like it was this year.
Yeah.
So
That Jared has made it pretty clear. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or if it was officially announced, but it's not like I think there were like shipping got too expensive or something like that, like to where it was not practical the way that they were giving them out this year. So there's not going to be
Well, if you guys
as many given out at events.
Well, if you guys want to make sure that they're giving out at events in the future, donate to the PC so the PC can afford to get the shipping.
Right.
agreed.
Okay.
Speaking of,
Carl says it was officially announced. So
Yeah. And then if you follow us on Twitch, you get some foils. New for 2023 for 1 month is the Revenge of the Sith foil, and then for 12 months is the Coruscant Jedi Temple.
nice foil.
That's how you get those foils. And let's see what else.
There's some cool AIs coming out.
Oh,
Through my legis, I don't know. I shouldn't spoil them, but there's some really cool ones. I'm able to see some different forums. There's
Oh,
some
yeah.
really cool.
I think
ones.
it's Breaking Fight Club to say that cool stuff is going to be here.
Cool
No.
stuff. Like a little nerd alert.
No, you could say it.
I'm not gonna say the cards, but there's some really neat stuff. The art's gotten crazy. Like I went to Jump the other day, and I like loaded a deck, and I was like, all the sites looked like better, and I'm like, what the heck happened? I think it was like agents or something.
It's
Like all the sites look better, and like Han Solo all of a sudden, or Solo is like looks better.
Yeah.
It's like all these cards look better.
Yeah, I've been saying with set 19, I think the graphics
Even
team got to
before
the
that.
point where the images are better than Decipher images. The new images that we get are better than
Well,
the best
That's
Decipher
that
images.
old, but they look really good. Decipher literally was the art of,
Yeah.
of great.
Well, yeah, I mean,
They nailed it.
I'm not saying I'm not.
Choke
But what
later.
I'm saying, we crossed the line. You know, one of the best
Executor.
Decipher images was Grand Admiral Thrawn, and the Grand Admiral Thrawn AI is a better image than the Decipher Grand Admiral Thrawn image.
And it's debatable, but it's a nice one.
It's debatable, but I just put my flag in the sand.
I can't say that
This
because
is something.
the
I'm a content creator. You're not, so my opinion matters more than yours.
no.
It's content. Guys, both are. I'm not. Gonna.
Just for your information,
I'm an influencer.
the Grand Admiral
I'm just gonna
Thrawn
say
was the original Decipher one is Timothy Zahn, the guy who wrote the books. So
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And
I knew that Cornhorn was.
Cornhorn is Stackpole, yeah.
And then, but speaking of the content creator of the awards, on December 14th, the Advocates are going to give out all of their awards, including the 2022 Content Creator of the Year, and as well as the Advocate Award winners and the 2022 John Anderson Volunteer of the Year. They'll get a nice little thank you package from all the advocates, so make sure you guys tune into that. I know Kendall is out there.
And there's a survey on the forums for you to say what content creators you like, so you can be like, Kendall is excellent, and then all the other ones you can say whether they're excellent, good, or fair, or if you don't watch them. And also, I've been saying this over and over again just to show that I'm not the only one that I like my own content. First of all, the Kessling Run's new episode is great with Jonathan Murray. And second of all, if you somehow have not seen Fatty's Jar Jar Binks collection video, it is the single best piece of Star Wars card content that has ever been created.
That's a bold. You're a full bold statement.
You're all. This is the best. That's your vibe.
I was falling asleep during the interview earlier, but I'm making up for it. But seriously, that freaking. And I have not heard anybody that people have watched it, and every single person agrees with me. Jared agrees with me.
Okay.
Jared needs to send me my trophies. Is it just gonna it's just gonna be one giant box of all my goodies.
And then the 2022 Holotheatre Guest of the Year voting is going to be live right after this show. So
am I on it?
You're on it.
I am. You better win.
Yeah. So all you got to do is go to the announcements section. People, Chris Kelly won it back in 2020, and then Timo Dussel won it in 2021. So all you got to do is click on the link. You'll go to a Google form, enter your email, and then pick from the entire list. List includes, let's see, Bill Kafer was first on the list. Justin Desai, our most recent one, and you're actually the last person that can be as soon as this episode ends, it's going to go live, and that's because you're the last person that we're going to have on as a guest.
Vote for me. I'm a champion. I like healthy food. I like sports, and I'm a really good guest. And you should eat salads.
You're going up against Johnny Chu too.
Johnny Chu.
Yeah.
He was. Oh, he was on. Was he on?
Yeah. Jared did an interview with him earlier this year when I was moving.
You know who was actually really good was Jump Tom. I like that interview.
He's everybody who was on an episode of Gemp on Holotheatre as a guest is up for this award.
When is Joe doing his next thing?
I'm not sure. But
he sent out the ballots because he sent it to me.
Oh, he did.
I haven't put my list together yet, but it's actually I can find that real fast.
Oh gosh, here we go. While you're finding that, the only thing that we got left is a lore challenge. Justin, you want to do that?
fine.
Get you more of those.
Crap.
I mean, that's that's the only way to get those packs.
I need to send it. I need to send my list. It's due by 12/8 or earlier. If you're one of the super delegates like me.
Are you though?
Or a delegate? I don't know. He sent me the thing.
Kendall didn't know I won Worlds and he's voting. He's like,
I
well,
know.
Justin doing that much.
I wouldn't. You sure you
Kendall-
Look, Justin. This is how good you are at Star Wars cards. In spite of my opinions of some things, you were still in my top 5.
Okay, all right. Even though I like salads and haven't had McDonald's in like 6 years.
I think
have it somewhat recently.
And check out your bingo cards. Justin has said when he has not had McDonald's in many years.
No, I had it.
He always has to bring it up.
I've had McDonald's in 2022. I had some French fries and
I got McDonald's the other day, and I ordered a McRib on the app, and then I got there and they're like, "We don't have McRibs anymore." I was so mad.
You were blessed then.
Good.
Yeah,
your body thanks you.
But the holiday pies though.
The pies? They have different types of pies? I thought it was just apple.
Yes. No. They have apple pie all year, and then they have seasonal pies.
So, Kendall, let me tell you a story about
the holiday pie is the best one.
Because you're significantly younger than me, I believe. When I was a young child in the 80s, and Dan might remember this, the old pies at McDonald's, they changed the recipe. Do you know this?
Yeah.
To be healthy. They used to be deep fried.
Right. Yeah, if you go to Lee's famous recipe chicken, and it's a regional.
Fried pies.
They do fried pies there still.
So, the fried pies were very good, and they're not as good now. I actually remember that time we walked in. Me and my brother walked in, and we were we got pies at McDonald's to try the new ones. Assuming that the new ones would taste better, and it was 1987 or something like that. Mm. And I looked at my brother, he's older than me, and he was like, "This is not as good." And I was sort of like, can we have the fried pies? And they didn't have them anymore. And they came in these little green containers. You popped them open.
There's one McDonald's at the corporate headquarters that still does fried pies.
Still does the fried pies.
How do you know this?
That's because I went to fucking Hamburger University.
Language.
Bitch. Oh, sorry, I forgot this was.
You know what? Just for that, we're taking out your name off of Content Creator of the Year.
There will be complaints.
Yeah.
There will be complaints.
You can edit that. You can
No.
edit me out.
Cardboard
This is
radio.
live. You can't edit live TV.
Well, for the YouTube. I apologize for my profanity. I speak like an adult, but I went to Hamburger University. I was a manager at McDonald's at one point. Anyway, they weren't as good. They I think they've gotten better over the years, but the holiday pie, custard filling, cookie crust, excellent. Pairs very well with the McRib, but you can't get those anymore. Farewell tour. Supposedly they're gone forever.
Oh, the McRib's gone.
Yeah, this was the last. This was supposed to be the last season for them.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, it stinks. And look, I've said it many times, but I wouldn't want the McRib every day. But for 1 month out of the year to get a few sandwiches, it's a nice novelty.
It's worth it.
We got our first official Twitch bot in chat.
Oh, really? What's he saying?
It's just the whole offer channel.
Promote the channel.
Yeah, promote us.
Leia Daddy 07 says save that for 0 and 2.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish that I could have had enough energy to continue 0 and 2 with Corn and Batmouse, but writing comedy is hard.
No, it's not.
We do like sound.
Well, I will say this. I think we went past our time for the lore challenge.
Yes.
So I think we're going to end it on that high note with the great debate on McDonald's versus salads. So
Jared, send my trophies and throw a Boba Fett box in, and I will still donate. I do need to do the donations.
Same. But next week we're going to have another roundtable discussion. This is all going to be about the tweak set. So
tweak set.
Fleek set, sorry. It's going to be more about, we're going to have a member from each of the prominent teams, minus KTOD, because obviously KTOD is here tonight.
You weren't asked.
That's why you get your own show.
Right, the prominent team.
But that's
actually Johnny hit me up today. Johnny hit me and Steve up today.
There you go.
Like saying hi, how's it going, guys? Maybe he's back fully.
Hey,
We'll
you know
see.
what? I mean, his are playing. You got to get your kids playing.
I know. The whole clan, the growing KTOD. See what happens. Who's coming on next week? Who are the guests?
So we got right now it is Jared Konsker, Kyle Kruger, Connor Britton. Let's see. Justin Miyashiro, Mike Kessling. Yeah. So
the big crew.
Justin Miyashiro, Jared Konsker, Kyle Kruger, Mike Kessling, and Connor Britton.
It's kind of neat with like so many people. That's actually kind of nifty. Like the round table concept. It's cool.
Yeah, I want to.
Who's coming from our? Isn't somebody coming from our team?
Yeah, Jared Konsker.
Oh, Jared. Yeah, that's right, Jared. Okay.
Who is your team?
It could be worse. It's me, Chris Kelly, Robbie Hendon, Carl Koenig, Koenig. Dorsch. Did I say Robbie?
Yeah.
David Woods, Stimpy. I probably forgot like one person. Who did I forget, Carl?
I don't know, but I think we're going to end our show on that note. So maybe
I forgot Joker King. Joker King.
So
one of the founding members of the team. Awesome.
So tune in next
week. I said Dorsch. Okay.
And then the week of Christmas, we're going to be off like we always do. And then on the following week, we're going to have our final show of the year and announce the guests of the year. So everybody make sure you tune in for our last two shows of this year. So
take it easy, guys.
Till then, everybody take care and enjoy your weekend. And always, force be with you.
Good luck. Have fun. No reverts.
There you go.